All right, the recording should be in progress, and I see numbers jumping up on my end. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm going to launch a quick poll question as folks are getting into the webinar. So we are attending HR Tech in September. Can't believe it's almost September. So if you are there, we would love to see you. So feel free to fill that out and we will get started in a couple of minutes. Today's webinar is around the role of flexibility at work and personalizing the employee experience. My name is Christina Giordano, she, her, and I'm the Senior Partnerships Manager at AllVoices, and I also host our interview series, Reimagining Company Culture, as well. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. To really set the stage for the conversation, we know that flexibility, when we boil it down, really comes down to trust and having the opportunity to live your full life inside and outside of work. One study found 74% of institutional investors say a company's ability to win the best talent is more important in winning their trust than attracting new customers or increasing their valuation multiple, so multiple stakeholders. And when people have the option of work flexibility, 97%, pretty close to 100, say they will take it or opt in as well. I would love to jump to introductions for our awesome panel here. So if you could share a little bit about yourself, including your pronouns, your role, the work you do at your company, that would be great. Theresa, I'm going to pass it to you first, and then I'll kick it to the chat to see the order.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Theresa Watts. My pronouns are she and her. I am the Senior Vice President of Human Resources, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for True Religion Brand Jeans. Yay! We're based out of LA. We love our area and our community. We love what we do. And I think my role is important with not just people, with engaging the people in our community as well with our product and our brand. So thank you.
And Dharti, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Dharti Patel. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Director of People at Tommy John Inc., which is a comfort-focused lifestyle brand based out of New York City. We are committed to solving the uncomfortable problems people have with their undergarments by reimagining their fabric, fit, and functionality. And my responsibilities include all aspects of HR, including talent acquisition, payroll, compensation and benefits, training and development, basically the full spectrum for retail and HQ. It's been, this is my 7th year at the company, and it's been a privilege to work closely with the founders, have the ability to drive and guide management on building high-performing teams, increase leadership capabilities, and overall organizational effectiveness. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Libertad, which, just for you to know, is a name in Spanish that means freedom. My pronouns are she, her, and I work in Discovery Networks as a senior manager for people and culture in Mexico. And yeah, my role is basically, as Arjona said, the whole spectrum for HR, for the teammates in Mexico, talent management, performance, culture, everything. So it's very nice to be with all of you here and looking forward to this conversation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Mikailli. My pronouns are she, her. I am the SVP of People at Signifyd. We are a roughly 500-person e-commerce fraud protection solution. We work with e-commerce merchants. Some you may have heard of, like Walmart, Samsung, protecting them from the fraud problem that they face with online commerce and helping them ultimately make more money online. And I'm responsible for the full employee life cycle at Signifyd. I've been here almost 6 years and built it from the ground up. You know, my goals are always to be balancing the human side of things as well as the business side. I think that's my job as a leader in the company. And it's been really exciting to watch the company grow from less than 100 employees to almost 500 in global offices, 20 times the revenue we had when I came in. So it's been a really exciting journey, and I'm very happy to be here and talk about this topic with you all.
Awesome. We have so many experiences, and I'm so excited to kind of dig in here and ask a lot of questions. Also, if you're listening live as well and want to send us a question via the Q&A function on Zoom or in the chat, feel free to do so as well. But let's start from the beginning. When we talk about flexibility, just like a lot of different vocab and terms, it could mean different things for different people. So let's talk about what role does flexibility play in your workplace, and how do you see that really manifesting in the employee experience? Libby, I'll pass to you first.
Thank you. Well, flexibility has become a key component, I guess, like for all companies to attract and retain talent. I see candidates and employees give a big weight to work-life balance and also to company culture. I think it's not only about new generations, which we know it's now really important for them. And I see cases which that has even more weight than compensation. So I guess also after the pandemic, remote working gained a lot of importance, and people experienced that they could balance, like their personal life, but also their work. They could also attend to things, etc. And I guess we all learned that we can work based in goals and not in a work schedule or going somewhere to work. But I think that we need to understand that one size does not fit all. So of course we want to incorporate flexibility, but we need to see that we have different industries, different functions, etc. But we have to be open to offer this flexibility because it is what people is looking for now. So if maybe we cannot, for example, give everyone a remote working full experience, where at least if you can offer a hybrid model, or if there's a function that needs to go like every day, well, what other things you can offer for them to feel appreciated, for them to know that they have a work environment that it's flexible. So I think that as companies, we need to really sit up and think about what we can offer, because it is something that is crucial right now. It is something that employees value, that candidates ask for when you're in an interview. I receive every single time the question like, what's the flexibility scheme? Can I work from home? Can I choose like my work schedule? Or at least can I have flexibility to, I don't know, go to the gym in the morning or whatever? So we do need to know that this is something now, and it came, I think the pandemic was like a breaking point, but this was before the pandemic. So we were able to learn a lot. We were able to see that we don't have to work in a specific place or in a specific schedule to get the goals done. So it is a challenge, of course, to find that sweet spot, as we call it, in which you can offer flexibility, but also comply with business needs, because of course we need to comply with it. But it's having openness to know that this is important and this is something that we have to pay attention with. So I guess in general terms, that's the thing that we have been facing and that we have been incorporating as companies, and that we still have a path to go. And I'm sure that we still have things to learn, but we are incorporating this flexibility model into the company.
Yeah, Libby, I can totally align with that. I think, for us at Tommy John, flexibility plays a huge role at the company. It's big on providing employees with a space where they feel like they have a sense of belonging and satisfaction, whether it's through like transparency, communication, benefits, or just general perks at work, And I think this new norm, we can all agree, was something, no organization or person was prepared for. we were bombarded with various stressors, that flexibility became something that we quickly had to pivot to. And, for some that meant remote work, others hybrid or reduced hours. But, personally at Tommy John, it really meant honing in on, the various factors impacting our employees and truly assessing how our people are aligning and are connected to our culture. Similar to like how Libby said, there's no one shoe that fits all. So, as a people leader, I take pride in our culture. I think by no means is it perfect, but it's a great culture. And so even though we knew our people identify, care about, and belong within it, naturally there was this assumption that, any changes in operation would impact that connectedness, which is the key for assuring like that cultural impact is felt, right? And so even though we knew that, that is a risk on our end, we want to take a human approach to flexibility in the workplace and action on a plan to operate remotely for the first year of the pandemic, and then keep a close pulse on our people and see, to gauge their comfort level, see what changes or factors are impacting their personal and professional lives. And we notice like from time to time that tend to fluctuate. So we established more into a hybrid environment and establish accountabilities at the top. So that meant our leaders were tasked to assess their orgs and responsibilities and make the executive decision to establish those flexible schedules that would help drive and maintain that connectedness in the workplace. So again, whether it was 1 week in the office, 2 to 3 weeks, 1 day in the office or 2 to 3 days in the office, working adjusted hours or starting early to take care of, personal errands at the end of the day, whatever it meant, we were open to catering to that. And of course, I think, like you said, Libby, it's definitely a challenge because we all crave that pre-pandemic FaceTime and personal interaction from time to time. But, we have to incorporate these best practices to ensure that we can mindfully foster relationships with our people, whether it's virtually or in a hybrid environment, to focus on that productivity. Like you said, it's not about like the hourly input. It's more about the engagement and allowing employees autonomy to enjoy the best of both worlds, right? Because that's when they're most happiest and that's where everything trickles from. And so we've been glad that, that's been working for us. Quite honestly, because I never imagined a product-focused company like ours to effectively operate in this way. But today, just seeing that people are connected to the brand, they're engaged in their work and maintain a high level of performance, it's really nice to see. We definitely have our, microwaves of disconnect too, and we navigate that. But I think, the key is to keep a close pulse on it and address it as early as possible to avoid any adverse effects on culture. So in my opinion, flexibility is definitely an opportunity to embrace in this new reality. Because it's going to be ever evolving and it'll help drive connectedness based on that. So the key is, communicate, transparency, provide the autonomy to your employees and establish that emotional proximity versus worrying about having that personal or physical proximity with them. Sorry, that was kind of went off a little bit, but hopefully that provided some good context.
Yeah, I think that definitely provided some good context. And I think really what you said about those mindful and intentional decisions, like what you're talking about, not assuming what people want and need and really showing up for employees kind of in the way and really listening to what they're saying as well. Everybody's at a different point of their career. Everyone's at a different point of life as well. And you're working at what I like to call the microcosm of your community and organization and company. We spend about I think on average, 1/3 of our lives working as well. And I want to touch on that point in terms of working smarter, not longer or harder, whatever the phrase is there as well. And we've had a lot of requests come in around talking about kind of how organizations and leaders are responding to that phrase as well. And one of the ways is implementing a 4-day work week, which I know Signifyd has done. Emily, has there been a surprising result of the 4-day work week that you can share with folks listening live and on demand?
I mean, I guess to me, the biggest surprise is sort of that there weren't really many surprises. I had put so much time into researching this, building kind of the business case for it. prepared to persuade and influence other leaders that it was a good idea, that it would not cause major problems in our business. And so, since we've rolled it out, that is largely what we have seen. So, sometimes you brace yourself for the worst. But in this case, I think my optimism and like taking a risk really did pay off. I would say, looking back, if I were to summarize the key learnings that I've surfaced since we've rolled out this program and gone through the process, are really the foundational elements that a company has to have in order for this type of thing to be successful. And there's, one of them is a flexible mindset, in terms of you cannot think about things the way you always have thought about things. You cannot make assumptions about how people do their best work, what's going to serve them the best. You have to operate from an assumption of good intent, an assumption of trust, fantastic communication, and ultimately a willingness, much like with flexibility, to step back from focusing on rote activities and even outputs and really focus on outcomes. And that's where, being aligned on what the company's kind of core goals are, what really matters to the company to be driving forward together, is so, so critical. And then stepping back and letting employees and teams have the latitude to figure out the best and most efficient way to make that happen. And so I think that's become really a foundational element of our culture. It has been in the past, but much more so now, which is, reimagine the way that you've been doing your job and approaching your job. Don't assume that the tasks that used to fill your time are the ones that are going to drive the most value. Some of them, of course, may be necessary. Some may be able to be automated or streamlined, outsourced. And really though, like, how are you as a worker spending your time? And the majority of it should be doing things that are actually driving the company's goals and outcomes forward, versus just like being able to say you did a lot of stuff in any given day. And that's where sort of that butts and seats, hours in the chair mentality tends to land you, which is like showing proof of your work. Well, the proof that we want to see and the culture we're driving is we want to see outcomes. We want to see that you're doing the things that lead to company success and nothing more, basically.
I love that mentality as well, the flexible mindset, and also not, I believe we were talking about this too, not expecting people to put in 60 hours, 50 hours in those 4 days. I think that's a fear that some folks have as well, that, they have to cram an extra day into their work week as well, and not really thinking about it from an efficiency standpoint too. I do want to touch on the hybrid workplace as well, which folks have talked about being really difficult to manage in terms of folks coming in at different times and also working remotely. Tommy John and True Religion brand jeans, great brands who are in a hybrid workplace with both corporate and in-store employees. I would love to know from Theresa and Dharti, like, what are areas of the process are kind of more flexible than others, and what have you kind of seen work best? Dharti, I'll pass to you first.
Yeah, sure. So I think navigating the pandemic by balancing like personal preferences and legal regulations, poses its own flexibility requirements for everyone. So for the company overall, like the safety and well-being of our employees is key. So that means adjusting and being flexible to employees' choices on various matters. It began with social distancing, getting vaccinated or wearing a mask, or even, ensuring employees are taking the breaks they need, to do whatever they need to. But flexibility at HQ is certainly different from that in retail at Tommy John, just because the latter demands a personal interface with the consumer. And so while the communication, transparency, focus on establishing that emotional proximity exists here too, the flexibility aspect was mindfully incorporated by revamping some of the benefit and perks offered to those teams. And so we offer competitive rates and time off, which ease the financial burden and offers the flexibility to recharge or refresh so that our employees can be their best selves at work. And since we unfortunately can't allow them to control where they work from, we offer the flexibility to let them determine when and how their work can be done. So our employees have the autonomy to work with our managers and establish and maintain schedules that are workable for them personally and professionally. And if there's any unforeseen circumstances, we have situations where, someone can't come in, they can easily swap schedules with team members. So that has been working really well for us. They also have the flexibility to drive their daily work activities as well. So that not only empowers them to unleash their full potential, but also in some cases leads to new efficiencies on the team. So even though it doesn't look the same in both environments, we're listening to our employees and responding to their needs as best as we can.
First at True Religion, we definitely, something I'm very proud of us for, we definitely put the employee first in our decisions. And sometimes that means making decisions that are going to impact the bottom line. And I say that, for our retail stores. If, sometimes an entire team is just, they're tired, guys. Everyone's working a lot of hours. We're moving into our busy season, so we're gearing up for that. Sometimes we're short-staffed. Sometimes we want to give our teams a break. So if it's necessary that a store needs to close for a few hours, or a store is going to be closed for a day or so that this store manager can go to their kids' softball game, so that they can go and volunteer at the charity that their heart is, dedicated to, then we take that hit. Because the employee is going to come back stronger, happier, healthier. And that's something that's, with our remote work, that we worked it into that policy so that we can say, okay, yeah, you have to be in the stores because, yeah, you are customer interfacing, but let's put other things in place that just specific for the retail environment so that you can be happy as well, so that you can feel a part of our remote work structure as well. Because in retail, when you hear the word remote, working remotely, they go, that doesn't work for us. Well, we're going to make it work for you. We're going to create something just for you. So we had to do that. And for our corporate, I had a conversation with someone outside of True Religion recently, and they were talking and they were so upset because they called an employee and they could hear something else in the background. They weren't at home. And she was just so upset. She was livid. And I said, was the work getting done? And she was like, oh, yeah. And I go, well, why do you care where she was doing the work? It doesn't matter. She answered your phone call, which means that she was present and she was available and she was being accountable. So why do you care if she's sitting on a park bench watching her kids play or watching kids do whatever, or at Great America, I don't know what people do, but the fact of the matter is she was still getting her work done. So that's how we function here at True Religion. Make your own schedules. You're an adult, but be accountable for the work. Whether you get it done at 5 a.m., whether you get it done at 8 p.m., it's done when we need it, and that's all we care about. During the day, we want you to have time to go pick your kids up from daycare. I love it when I call my team and they're like, oh, I'm just walking the dog. I love that. So that is remote work because I know that my team is still getting the work done. So for us, we want to, in the instances of employees are saying, well, you say that we can work from home and this is a remote environment, but you called me at the last minute and told me that I needed to be at the office. Or you were so upset because you heard my kids playing in the background, because you heard music in the background, because I'm at a street fair sitting, watching, doing a report, that type of thing. So we end it. Specifically on my team, I don't ask where they are. I have no idea where they are at this moment. I just know that the work is getting done. For everyone else, the other senior leaders, the same thing. Half the time, even the senior leaders, I'm like, I had no idea you were out of the country. They're like, yeah, because I'm doing my job. So that's how we operate. You don't need to clock in and clock out mentally or on your emails. I'm not gauging what time or how you respond to me or when you answer the phone. Just get the work done and get it done well and be accountable for where you are. So that's our remote culture and we love it. And you would think it would be hard for a fashion company because there are some departments that have to be there to touch the fabric. They have to be there to measure, they have to be there, but we work that out as well. They may come in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and work later. They may come in it's all set to them, what they want to do and when they want to do it, as long as it gets done. And that's the remote work environment here at True Religion. It totally works for us.
I love that. I've heard of people taking a photo of their regular background for Zoom and then using it as a virtual background when they're traveling or just like, trying to, be at an industry wall or something like that and say that they're in their house. And the reality is that the work is getting done. You are available, you are accountable, you are trusted and in a trusting environment, and you feel like you can do your best work, then does it really matter? Probably not. We do have a question coming in related to kind of that job functionality, Theresa, that you were talking about. Libby and Emily, you mentioned being focused on goals instead of hours. Have you or anyone on this panel found that certain departments or job functions just have more or less flexibility? Emily, the same thing for the 4-day work week. Is it fair? Is there a way to make it more fair, or is that just what you signed up for? For example, if you are in a sales role or a marketing role. So anyone can answer that.
I'm happy to start. I mean, again, I don't have the same experience, as Dharti or Theresa around having physical retail workers. All of our employees are knowledge workers. And so, in terms of remote workability, that's not an issue for anybody. And we've been able to fully move to hybrid or remote work all of the time. But I will say, yes, there are absolutely functions where, particularly operational functions, I would say, where there are going to be tasks and activities that need to be done in any given day. Maybe you have some kind of a contact center, or you have a queue of orders that need to be reviewed, things like that. Most businesses have some operational jobs. You may have, of course, you have an accounting function. They've got to close the books at end of month, things like that. So for operational functions, of course, we still encourage people to focus on efficiency, streamlining, but we came into it very eyes wide open that you may need to adjust resources over time in order to allow those employees to have the same quality of life that all of your other employees have. And if you're truly an employee-centric culture and company, then those are going to be adjustments that you are going to need to make over time as you understand the impact of different things on different teams. We haven't had to do a lot of that, but it is certainly something that comes into play more when you're talking about work that does involve kind of methodical, repetitive tasks over and over again that just simply need to get done and can't be automated, for example. So that's a big one. And then I would say with sales, I always say this, and I was going to talk about this a little later, but at the end of the day, if you manage people in minutes spent in their chair, minutes spent on Teams, minutes spent on Slack, they will give you minutes of work. And that is how they will be thinking about it. So it's all about this environment of trust. It all goes back to trust, right? So I think, with salespeople, they tend to be money motivated, right? They're not going to not take a call on a Friday if it means that they're going to close a massive deal, right? They may not be outbounding on those days, but trust that they will not drop the ball on booking a deal if it matters to them, or if it's month end or quarter end. And again, the same holds true for essentially every function. If you've given your people kind of visibility into how their work matters to the company outcomes, if they're given growth opportunities, if they've been given trust where they've had days where they're like, gosh, I really didn't get much done, but no one's really mad at me. It's just, I've just had life circumstances get in the way and my manager's been totally understanding. They're not going to come crying when they do have to work a long day or maybe chip in some hours on the weekend because there's some sort of calamity that they're needing to help with. So it's a give and a take, right? And so that's how I always encourage managers to think about it when they're struggling with flexibility, when they're struggling with like the optics and the reality of hybrid or remote work. It's like, you get what you give. And if you assume the best of people and you trust them to make these decisions as adults and as professionals, then they will give that back to you in spades. And the reverse is obviously true as well.
Yeah, I was thinking, you talk a lot about, the employees, about us trusting the employees. I think the employees will trust us too. They see that we are meeting them halfway and that we are trying. And that was what we did when we changed our policies. I think that if you go over, look at your policies and your procedures and how they can be adapted to be more amenable to the employee's workday, to giving them opportunities to have more time off or to have more time away, or more flexibility to still get paid while they're somewhere else doing their job. we're working with you. So I tell my team all the time, listen, I tell employees all the time, listen, please, what ideas do you have? You tell me how I can make your life, I can still make your job as profitable as it is, our sales team, or still make your job as comfortable as it is, still make your time with your family as, special, quality time with them, and still get your job done and still be in a team. You tell me what you need. So then I'm building that trust relationship with them. And then when I can, I definitely, we do. Someone just called me this morning and asked, I can call our benefit broker and see if we can add add a more robust function to our benefits. And I just said, what's it gonna cost me to make a phone call or, to just even add that. So I'm just trying to figure that out. So they know that they can call us and ask us, hey, to make my life better at work and at home, can you do this for me? And they trust that we care and that we will do it. So that trust works. It works both ways.
And I guess,
sure, go ahead, Libby.
No, I will just add, like, being creative, like sometimes, yeah, you cannot apply everything to all of them. But if you are creative and open, as Theresa was saying, ask, okay, well, we cannot do this because of your job function or your possibilities. So what would work for you to feel that you have flexibility or that you have options? So maybe if you cannot take the half Friday off, well, what will work for you? And they can give you the answers. You can also have ideas, but always being open and creative to offer this type of flexibility for them. And if you incorporate them, they can give you the answer. They are the ones that are impacted. So being open and listening to what they need, it's also key.
I definitely agree. And I think that, like in all relationships, trust is a two-way street. And it doesn't just happen because you say, okay, we have a trustful environment. Okay, we have psychological safety at work. So we're going to say, we're not receiving any feedback. So everything is absolutely perfect. We have nothing to improve on. You need to have that creativity. One of the activities that you can do is really making sure that you're being transparent with what's happening in your team and your company. And sometimes that can be difficult when folks are in a hybrid environment or you are remote, because you need to make sure you're checking all of the channels, or you have a pulse on what's going on. When you are in these environments, how do you really communicate big announcements and exercise transparency in an effective way? Theresa, I would love to start with you.
Although I do have a really big mouth and I could probably just, shout out the announcement and they'll hear it for miles and states away. We use the town hall quite often, a virtual town hall. We have a lot of great things and to share, and the employees, now we have had feedback before in the past where, oh my God, we don't know what's going on. We didn't know that happened, that type of thing, because they don't always read the emails. You send them communication and a letter or something in the mail, they don't always read it, but when they hear that all your senior leaders are going to be on a town hall and you get to ask them questions, our CEO even leads our town halls, which is really great. He moderates it, he leads it, he asks, the SLT the questions. So we do town halls quite often where we share the information as we get it. And also too, if there's something that the employees need to be told, they need to be communicated with immediately, we'll schedule a meeting. I'm not big on Zooms. My team will tell you I'm Zoomed out completely. And so it will be, we use more, asynchronous communication where it's, you don't have to necessarily, town halls, you have to be there. Okay, that's fine. However, we do record it and they can play it back at their later date whenever they want, when they're at the park or whatever they're doing, that type of thing. But we make sure that the leaders, the information is coming directly from the leaders, because it's, it's coming directly from the people who are making the decisions, the final decisions. And it's giving to them real time or recorded. It's given to them as soon as we need to make a decision. Hey team, we're doing this town hall. What do you think of this? Or we just made this decision. We think it's great. It just happened. So we want to share it with you right now. So for us, town halls have seemed to be very popular. They seem to love it. We do send to make sure that the employees are happy about being there. Everyone receives a gift, a box of snacks and things like that, so they can watch the town hall and we can eating it together, that type of thing. So we make the town halls fun. And again, it's an opportunity, for the employees to ask questions directly of the CEO and other members of the senior leadership team as well.
I agree with you, Theresa. And actually, for us, town halls are also like a really great resource to keep in touch with them and to communicate with everyone. And I guess that I just will add some things that about the importance of communication and keeping it open with your people. And the first one is that it doesn't have to go only one way. We cannot think that as a company, we are the only ones that can share information. So we need to keep it open and have these spaces as town halls, etc. But also like get people feedback, giving them the openness to ask questions and everything. And that gets me to my second point, that it's like, not everyone likes to communicate the same way or to receive the information the same way. So maybe if you have different channels in which you can communicate but also receive feedback, it will be better. Because I don't know if it happens anywhere, everywhere, but sometimes when you have like a big space where everyone is connected, for example, if you are shy, even if you are not shy, sometimes you don't feel okay like asking because everyone is listening. So what other channels can you give the people that maybe don't feel very comfortable asking questions in front of everyone? No, so you have emails, you have surveys, you have I don't know, different channels to keep the dialogue open and make sure that you give information, but you also receive feedback and questions and everything that people will have. And I think that also leads to my third point, that it's a transparency. And I agree with Theresa that we need to communicate as fast as possible, as much as we can, because people like to know what's going on in their workplace. We spend a lot of time here. If you are committed, everything, you like to know what's going on in your work, right? So transparency, it's so important. I know that there's also sometimes information that it's confidential, or that we have sensitive conversation that we cannot share very fast, or we cannot open all the information to the employees. But if we try to communicate as much as we can, and to the point that we were discussing earlier, if we trust the people that we work with, as employees, you receive it better when you know that maybe the news that they are giving to you are not the ones that you were expecting to listen, or maybe when there are like hard news to share. But when you feel that the people in your company is sharing the truth, you take it differently. As when sometimes if you know that they're lying, or that maybe they're keeping things away, because I don't know how, but people will know what happened, So if they know that you were transparent, that you were open, that you give them space to ask, that you gave them also space to let you know how they feel, etc., I think that changes everything, even when you have like a hard message to deliver. So transparency is key. Trust the people that you work with. There's a reason that they're in your company. So if you give them trust, if you give them communication, to me that changes like the whole environment in the place that you work at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's very important to your point. I was going to add that to your point too. That also, guys, goes with the good and the bad. When you have to be upfront and quick when you communicate bad information as well, or things that employees are not going to be as happy about, because if you don't and they find out, then that's going to break that trust, and it's really going to hurt. And just imagine, guys, when we're working remotely, we're basically working like this. we can't see you. We can't see your facial expressions. We can't read your body language, or we're alone. Just imagining, oh my God, all the crazy stuff that goes through my head a day. So imagine, I'm sure other people go through the same thing. So when you're quick and you're honest and frequent, I think that, you know, the employees appreciate that, and that helps with that transparency.
We have a couple of questions coming in, so I want to ask those too, and this relates to body language and in person as well. And I've seen a couple of articles about this too, with differing opinions. But someone asked, "Do we sensationalize the quote unquote water cooler moments? Do you, and if so, how? Replicate them? Is this key to building trust?"
I'm happy to start with that one, if that's okay. I don't think they're key to building trust. I think building trust is a quilt that is woven from every interaction people have with one another every single day. And it can be email, it can be Slack, it can be non-response, as well as a response to something. I would say though, over the last two and a half years, I have personally formed the hypothesis that in-person work is not needed on a day-to-day basis to have strong teams and strong relationships, but there is absolutely value in bringing people together from time to time. So I personally think, you know, when it's safe to do so and it makes sense for the business, you know, aiming to get people together with a broader group of coworkers at least quarterly seems to be really, really helpful in maintaining the stickiness of the workplace, reminding people that they like everyone that they work with. I think the hardest part about remote work is that you tend to only communicate live with people when you have something to discuss, a problem to solve, a tactical issue to face. Yes, I always try to dedicate some of my one-on-one time to personal chat and finding out how people are doing. But at the end of the day, it's a set time. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, and you're there to do something. And yes, everyone's dying to get off at the end because it's Zoom and we're all over it. So there is absolutely an inherent relationship building mechanism in coming together in person. So what we found that's worked really well for us is doing sort of cross-functional groups, whether they have a specific business problem they're trying to solve, whether it's planning for, you know, future quarters, whether it's reviewing like postmortems on successes and failures over the last couple of quarters. It does not need to be company-wide. In fact, we've never done that to date. It's more about like sort of sub-functions that make sense, sometimes even just the team itself, bringing them together physically, or you can do office-based activities and programs. We're doing a little bit of an office roadshow where we bring kind of culture, training, and development to each of our physical offices to encourage all of the people that live in proximity to come in together and experience a couple of days together in the office. So I don't think it needs to happen daily, weekly, even monthly, but I do think from time to time there is absolutely value in that in terms of building relationships and creating stickiness. I don't think it's necessary for building trust though.
I think that's definitely helpful context as well. It's not the end all be all. It is another activity that is in it. I like the analogy of a quilt in terms of building trust, because it's all about, every interaction is about building trust or breaking it for that matter as well. Theresa, did you want to answer the Q&A question around how often you do town halls?
Oh, okay. Sure. You know, okay, town halls are regularly, we see town halls and all hands at different meetings. So yeah, two different types. So our town halls, we have them regularly scheduled for once a quarter, because that's everyone, all of senior leaders, CEO, all of that. However, we will throw in all hands at the drop of a hat, just because we want to share information seriously. We will send out a meeting. Hey guys, we're gonna have all hands next Monday because we wanted, our holiday party is coming up next year, and we want everyone to be involved in the planning. Or we want to talk about what our performance reviews are gonna look like next year with merits and bonus and things like that. Hey, we have some great changes coming to our benefits. Hey guys, we got to share this news with you, and you know, even it's bad, it's not the best, but we want to call a meeting. But We do that often. And honestly, you would think, oh my God, this is too much. I don't hear from these people. No, they asked for that in our employee survey. They wanted us to communicate with them frequently, especially the people who can't come to the office or, people who don't see us regularly. They asked for it. So after each town hall, after each the all hands, we sent a survey out. We asked, how was it? Do you want to hear more? Yeah, we want to hear more. So they know for sure town halls are going to be once a quarter. Are all hands. I even had an employee send me an email say, hey, Theresa, can you put together an all hands? Because we want to discuss what's going on in our retail stores. I'd be like, okay, let's do it. So all hands is just like whenever we want to share, whenever an employee says, we think that this is important for you to discuss with all of us, can you do it? So I would, depending on your environment and what information you have to share, I would just, flex it based on, the employees and the culture and the environment. But we talk a lot here, so.
That's good. Talking a lot is good. And also, I think that goes back to, Emily, your point earlier of not just thinking about things as they always are, or having an all hands like once a quarter, or like, having constant communication and really reimagining kind of the responsibilities of ourselves and also holding each other accountable. Too. Dharti, I would love to know, what are the ways that you and your team are really building a high trust environment at Tommy John?
Sure. I think our approach is really through intentional, humane leadership. We try to be authentic, or we are authentic, empathetic, adaptive to, the evolving needs of our people, and we deliver on our commitments. And, as I said earlier, communication, transparency, and providing that autonomy are at the core of building that trust. And so that's been our philosophy from the beginning.
We also had another question also in terms of folks who flexibility impacts. I think it impacts everyone, but wanted to know, this person wanted to know, have you received specific feedback from working parents about flexibility, and how have you adapted your strategy for working parents who have newborns and working parents who have 11-year-olds?
Yes, all the time. I mean, personally, I myself entered motherhood during the pandemic, so I can definitely relate to the level of flexibility and grace needed for working parents, or even to caretakers. It takes a village, and that includes your professional village as well. So extending that flexibility to offer, whether it's like paid parental leave and bonding time with children. We have unlimited or very competitive PTO offerings, so that, parents and caretakers can use that to, for our child-focused needs, and just communicating that our efforts are always going to be to evolve these offerings year over year. So that has shown great support to our team members. And, at HQ, like Theresa said earlier, we offer the flexibility to bring children to work if absolutely necessary. And overall, we embrace the cameos. Most times you'll see my son popping in here and there, Cocomelon playing in the background. It is what it is. And it's fun. It keeps everything lively in this uncertain environment. So, and our founders, especially their parents themselves, so they're totally in support of offering this flexibility as well.
We love empathetic leadership, and also modeling that behavior as well, and really walking the walk and talking the talk. I know we have around a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure that we get to everybody's call to action. So this is a question for everyone in terms of what is your CTA, your kind of charge for folks to really build in flexibility into their workplace, whether they are in human resources people, diversity, equity, and inclusion, individual contributors or managers. You could be as specific or granular as you would like. Let's start with Libby, and if you want to pass to someone after you go, that would be great.
Perfect, sure. Well, I guess I would just say, don't be scared to be flexible. Trust your employees, communicate with them, understand what they appreciate and value and what they need, and be creative on how you can balance that with the business needs. I heard something yesterday in a conference that I really liked, that was about the new generations, but I think it resonated a lot with me, And they were saying that now they don't look for managers, they look for mentors. And I think if we think about it with all what we have been talking about, we can all be a mentor. We can all try to make the experience better for the people that we're working with. So be open to it. And I think that's what I want to share. And I'll pass the word to Theresa.
I would say, don't be afraid of the unknown, and don't be afraid of the hard work, because everyone is so different. And every day someone, hopefully someone gets more comfortable with sharing their differences and what they need to into the workplace and be comfortable doing that. We're gonna be flexing forever, for years. Okay, so this is gonna be, because not everyone is the same, you're gonna have to find different ways to flex the work, to flex the environment, to flex leadership. I mean, this is just, guys, it's not going away. So it's gonna be a lot of work. And again, don't be afraid of the unknown, because you may think you know something now, but tomorrow or the next week, there's going to be something completely different. So you can either try to find a way to, be flexible with that, add it into, the flexibility plan that you already have. Lastly, I would say, don't be afraid to ask. I am the first person to tell you, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to make you happy. I don't know how to fix this error I made. And I didn't know I had made an error. So thank you for telling me. So I am the first to tell you that. So don't be afraid of that. And so when you have those opportunities, which are great opportunities for you, run with it. Thank that person, run with it. And don't be afraid to fix it or change and flex so that you can make it better for everyone. That's what I said. Oh, let's go to Dharti.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I think you said it best there. I mean, everyone's needs are going to be ever evolving, and they're going to vary, from time to time. So I think, for companies, when they see that there's an evident decrease in retention, they see attrition, loyalty, or like lack of productivity engagement, it calls for flexibility into the workplace, right? And, you want to look at flexibility not as a disruptor, but as an opportunity to reverse that burnout and improve morale and productivity, and just evolving with the times. This is a new norm and it's here to stay. And so we're just going to have to constantly adapt and morph.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm last, so I guess I didn't need to be called on. So I would say the two biggest things, if you want to be really practical about it, that you need to focus on to shift your culture, if you're struggling with flexibility or you're trying to build that culture, is who you hire and how you coach and train your leaders and managers. Those are the two biggest things. So I always say at Signifyd, for us to be successful with things like a 4-day work week, with remote work, with the flexibility we have, we can only hire people that we can fully trust to take ownership of their work and do what's best for the company and focus on the company's outcomes. And when we realize that someone's not going to do that, we deal with it accordingly, but we operate from the assumption that that is the case when we hire someone. So hiring is critical. Never hire just to get someone's warm body to type on a keyboard. That is never going to end well for anyone, and it's distracting and costs a lot of money. The other thing is, if you're going to beef up one resource at your company first to really try to make any kind of culture shift, but specifically something around this, it is sort of like that strategic HR business partnership element. It's something we've invested in heavily at Signifyd, and it's that hands-on regular coaching that managers and leaders have that I think is one of the most critical ingredients to building the type of culture that you really aspire towards. Because you can say all you want at the company level, you can say vision, you can say values, you can say all of these things, you can say policies, but on a day-to-day basis, it's the managers and leaders that are building that quilt, so to speak, of trust and the actual employee experience. And so if you have leaders that are stuck in a mentality of hours spent working, clock in, clock out, butts in seats, remote work doesn't work, you know, kind of old fashioned mentalities around things. Like, you have to combat that first and foremost. There is absolutely no way an employee is going to be able to overcome that. So you've got to invest in coaching and hiring and retaining the right types of leaders and managers, because they are the ones in the trenches every day, making this possible, making it real for employees. So hiring and investing in coaching and training leaders to your specific culture and aspirations, I would say, are the most important things you could walk away from this and focus on.
I love that. I think everybody's insights and this whole conversation, I definitely appreciate it as well. I was sharing on our pre-call before the pandemic, I never thought I would work at a fully remote company or have a remote element at all. And now I love it. And I think it's a huge opportunity and just a really intentional way to work with folks as well, to have that element. Thank you all so much, and our audience, for attending both live and on demand this webinar. As a reminder, our goal at AllVoices is to really help companies become more inclusive and create that psychologically safe space and maintain that culture of feedback in a really intentional way. If you have any questions, let me know. In that case, have a great rest of your afternoon, everybody, and we will see you soon for our next webinar.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You
Thanks,
too.
everyone.
Thank you.